The Problem of Duality by J Van Der Leeuw, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. The Problem of Duality. The antithesis of a solid, tangible and visible world around us, an invisible, intangible and subtle consciousness or life within, is so fundamentally the structure of our world and so utterly permeates our outlook on life that it hardly occurs to us to analyse or doubt it. We unthinkingly accept the two terms of that duality as really opposed and ask ourselves whence the duality arises, how its two elements are related and how one can affect the other. The names given to the opposites in this duality of our daily experience vary. They may be termed spirit and matter, life and form, self and not self, energy and mass, but fundamentally they are that duality which appears to be the main structure of our lives. In ourselves, we are sharply aware of the two opposites as body and mind. Our life appears to be sensation, coming to us from without, the body affecting the mind, and on the other hand, action and volition coming from within, the mind affecting the body. Instinctively, we recognise the difference. Whatever philosophical theory we may cherish, we cannot escape from the fact that to us this interaction between mind and body, between world within and world without, is a daily reality. Even the philosopher who, in his speculation, should attempt to deny the fact of this duality altogether, will find himself painfully reminded of it each time the law of his members wars against the law of his spirit, when he does that which he does not want to do, or does not do that which he wants to do. Each time we experience a struggle between the body and its desires and the mind with its decisions, the duality of our lives is brought home to us, and no theory can reason away that experience. In mechanics and physics we are confronted by the same fundamental duality in the terms of energy and mass. We know but too well that when we wish to lift a heavy weight, energy or force is needed, and the distinction between the inert, heavy and solid mass we desire to move, and the intangible, invisible energy we use to move it, is sharp and undeniable. In fact, we might say that there is not an experience in our daily lives which does not show this dual construction in some form or other. The consciousness we have of ourselves as being a self, the way in which we look upon all else as being not self, permeates our very lives, is manifest in every one of our experiences. It is therefore but natural that the relation between body and mind, or matter and spirit, should be the fundamental problem of philosophy, the most prolific of all philosophical questions. There is hardly a philosophy which has not some contribution to offer towards this true riddle of the Sphinx, a divine head on an animal body. To find an explanation of this most outstanding problem of our daily life is a necessity. All day long we are aware of mind acting on body and body acting on mind, of energy moving mass and mass resisting energy. And if we are at all awake to the wonder and mystery of life, we must feel an eagerness, an intense desire to know how this interaction takes place. Even if, later on, we are to find that there are serious flaws in the problem itself. Even though we may find that the problem, as it stands, cannot be solved, yet the desire to know and the intensity with which we demand an answer are of the greatest value. It is only according to the intensity of our questions that our ultimate experience of truth will be. If we ask our philosophical questions in a casual and indifferent way, in the attitude that it would be interesting to know these things, we shall certainly never emerge beyond a superficial intellectualism. Almost every one of us occasionally does ask some philosophical questions of the profoundest meaning. The purpose of life, the origin of the world, the ultimate reality of spirit and matter, or the measure of freedom of the human will. But in most cases the one who asks lives on quite happily, even though he may not find an answer or experience a reality. Such is not the way of true philosophy. Unless we ask with our whole being, heart and soul and mind, unless we can hardly eat or drink or sleep unless we know, unless life is no longer worth living without the experience of living truth, we shall not gain it. We must desire truth more than life itself, if we are to be worthy of experiencing it. Read but in the Confessions how St. Augustine yearned for truth. He speaks of his most ardent pursuit of truth and wisdom, says that he is struggling for the breath of thy truth, and exclaims when he questions the nature of time, "My soul is all on fire to be resolved of this most intricate difficulty. Shut it not up, O Lord God. O my good Father, in the name of Christ, I beseech thee, do not so shut up these usual but yet hidden things from this desire of mine, that it be hindered from piercing into them, and let them shine out unto me, thy mercy, O Lord, enlightening me." End of quote. And again, when he contemplates the problem of evil, he speaks of the torment which his teeming heart endured, saying that no man knew how much he suffered. Such is the attitude of the seeker after truth, and such are they who find. As long, however, as the problem is to us but an intellectual puzzle to be solved as well as possible, so long shall our answers be ingenious explanations and nothing more. According to the type or mentality of a philosopher, or of some particular period, will be the answer given to the fundamental problem of duality. Unknown to himself, the philosopher will be influenced in his logical and well-reasoned theory by his own spontaneous attitude towards this dual universe. It would be of interest if, someday, a history of philosophy could be written in which the philosophical doctrines held by the leading philosophers were shown to be as the inevitable product of their own innate tendencies, desires and difficulties, rather than of their profound reasoning and irrefutable logic. It is often our general outlook on life, the way we feel towards the world surrounding us and towards our fellow men, our aspirations and struggles, our achievements and failures, which determine our philosophy and its doctrines, not these doctrines which determine our outlook on life. We accept or evolve a philosophy of life because it provides a framework within which our spontaneous tendencies can work, even though we may feel convinced that we have been won over to them by the logic of their propositions and the strength of their proof. It would not be difficult to show how a Spinoza, Kant, Schopenhauer or Nietzsche was determined in his philosophical doctrines by virtue of that which he was, rather than that which he thought out. St. Augustine's emphasis of original sin is as much the inevitable outcome of the incessant struggle which his passionate nature caused him, as Schopenhauer's pessimism was the result of his unhappy experience and failures, reacting on a mind that could not rise triumphantly over them and gain strength instead of cynicism out of them. Had Schopenhauer been happy in his first love, he would never have written his scathing words about women. Had St. Augustine succeeded in harmonizing his passions with his religious aspirations, he would never have condemned the unbaptized infant to everlasting hell. It is our outlook that causes our philosophy, not our philosophy which causes our outlook. There is therefore an element of truth and reality in every one of the more serious approaches to the problem of our dual universe. In an unsympathetic discussion and criticism of philosophical doctrine, it is no doubt always possible to present them in such a way that they appear but as the futile fantasies of arid minds. But if we try to understand a doctrine from the mentality of the one who produced it, we shall always see that for that mentality and from that standpoint the doctrine was relatively true.